around San Diego living, teaching women to ditch their inner critics, the big fat lies that could be holding you back from achieving happiness and success.
What are the big fat lies that you tell yourself, especially women? We're talking to you today because this is the lady that wrote the book, Big Fat Lies That Women Tell Themselves. Amy Ahlers joins us here this morning. Are we talking self-esteem basically here?
Well, what a great question. I mean, I want to start by saying that everybody has a voice inside their head. Men too. I mean, my dad just read my book and he said, honey, it appeals to men too, so it's true. But we all have that voice inside our head that is overly critical, that beats us down, that says things like, you're not enough, it's too late for you. And that is the voice of the inner critic. And I have news. The inner critic is a big fat liar telling you big fat lies.
So what made you decide to do this? Because somebody that writes a book, just that process alone is daunting, it's difficult. And then getting a book published, you can't be a loser and write a book. You can't. So I mean, what in your background made you decide to write that?
Well, I've been a life coach for over the last decade, and I have discovered that no matter how rich, no matter how thin, no matter how beautiful or even how handsome a person is, on some level, he or she is being way too hard on themselves. So I started collecting these big fat lies. And I've collected 59 big fat lies in my book here. And every lie
Only 59?
Oh, well, it's a starting list.
Okay,
let's put it that way.
Version 2 coming out later.
Yes, exactly. Well, that's the goal, right? And so there's 59 big fat lies. Each has a truth and a coaching challenge exercise. So people can lock in the truth, because we don't just have the inner critic, we also have our inner wisdom, and that's where our truth comes into play.
Well, you know, I hear so many of these things from people. You know, they'll say, well, you know, I'd love to change careers, but it's too late. And I say, Colonel Sanders. You know, that's a good example. But for every one of the big fat lies that we tell ourselves, there's somebody else who said, oh, I didn't listen to that.
That's right.
I just did my thing. So where do you start?
Yeah, well, a great place to start is to really notice, where does your inner critic show up? Is it in the bedroom? Is it in the boardroom? Is it around your career?
See, it wasn't in the bedroom until you brought that up.
Well, you know,
great.
Hey.
Now I have to examine that whole part of my life.
Well, you know, that's the goal, though. Really look at, where does your inner critic show up? And then make a list of the top 10 big fat lies your inner critic has been feeding you. What are those big fat lies? Is it, I'm not enough? Is it that, you know, I'm not getting good in the sack? Is it about money? Is it that I'm one of the have-nots? Is it, it's too late for me? Really look at that. You know, I have a client who believed for so many years of her life about the big fat lie of, I'm unlovable. Oh. I know. Doesn't that break your heart?
It really does.
Yeah.
Because there's I don't know if there's anybody out there that really on some level isn't lovable.
Exactly. And so when we got that truth really ingrained in her, her entire dating life changed, because her inner critic was no longer choosing her dates. She's now happily married and was, in fact, married on television, if you can believe it.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, so we kind of talked a little bit about the inner critic and the inner critic's favorite big fat lies.
Yes.
But let's talk about a process.
Yes,
because
I would love that.
Here's my concern, is that people who tell themselves these lies, or their inner critic tells them these lies, they're not going to recognize them as lies. So where do we start?
Okay, perfect. So I have a 3-step process called the wake-up call 3-step process. And step 1 is to really recognize the big fat lies that are running the show. So step 1 is, anytime you're feeling a negative emotion, and everybody watching, I really encourage you to go ahead and do this process right here, right now. So the step 1 is, what is my inner critic saying? And just give yourself some space to let your inner critic rant. And then step 2 is for you to just take a deep breath, close your eyes, and say, what does my inner wisdom know? Ask yourself that question right now as you're watching. What does my inner wisdom know? This is the space of truth. And then step 3 is lock it in with a physical gesture while saying your inner wisdom's truth out loud.
You say a physical gesture, it might just be, you know, to touch your heart or something
exactly.
like that.
I tap on my chest.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Big fat lies women tell themselves. Amy Ahlers, tonight you will be where?
At Shakti Rising, and I have a free gift for everyone. They can go to readytogetinspired.com, and I have a free Inner Superstar kit there.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Great to see you.
Thank you so much for
having me.
Come back
and give us some more coaching.
I'd love that. Thank you very much.
Thanks.